And welcome back. Republican lawmakers from hard-hit states are taking aim at the president's global trade war. This after the Trump administration launched a $12 billion aid program to help farmers offset the estimated $11 billion in losses they're facing from the president's self-imposed tariff policy. Joining me now is Republican Senator Pat Toomey of Pennsylvania. Senator, it's great to see you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
What is your reaction to the idea of aiding farmers to offset their losses because of the president's tariff policy?
No, it's terrible, right? I mean, we're compounding government errors. It was a failed government policy in the first place that's, in the form of these unnecessary tariffs that are doing the damage, and now we're going to offset that by forcing taxpayers to send a check to these farmers. I just can't agree with this. And the pity of this is the economy is doing so well. The response to our tax reform, to the deregulation that we and the president have pursued jointly has been phenomenally successful. I'm afraid it could really be jeopardized by this downward spiral on trade.
And if you talk to economists, they say that a tariff is really a tax, so that this could wipe out the benefits of the tax cut.
Let's be clear. There's nothing theoretical or complicated about it. A tariff is simply another name for tax, right? We just impose a tax on a product that an American wants to buy because it originates overseas. In the case of the steel and aluminum tariffs on our nearest neighbors, closest friends, and best allies, like Mexico and Canada, it just makes no sense at all at any level. So it's problematic. And by the way, I've got companies all across Pennsylvania from one corner to the other that have already come to my office and explained how their business is jeopardized. They are facing the possibility of having to lay off workers because their products are no longer competitive with the tax they have to pay on the steel and aluminum they import.
Well, the irony is that this was originally floated aimed at Western Pennsylvania and propping up the steel industry.
Yeah, I guess. In reality, of course, far more Pennsylvanians work with steel to make other things than make steel. And in any case, the government shouldn't be deciding which sector of the economy should be winning or losing and imposing these kinds of policies that distort things. This is just a bad direction we're heading.
The president's meeting today with the head of the EU. He's actually referred to the EU as a foe, not a friend.
Yeah.
The EU has already cut deals with Japan.
Yeah.
They are a huge market, and they're going elsewhere.
This is the danger, whether it is the countries of the Pacific, it's China's very aggressive efforts all around the world, the EU launching these agreements, Mexico and Canada are part of TPP. So the world is going to trade with each other. And unfortunately, if we don't change the direction we're heading, then the U.S. won't be leading that process, as we historically have for the last 70 years.
Well, I hear Senator Grassley, I hear you, Senator Johnson, Senator Kennedy from Louisiana. So what are Republicans in the Senate going to say to the president?
Well, what I've said to the president, I've explained why I think this is a mistake, why we shouldn't be pursuing this policy. We do have, by the way, a serious trade issue that we need to address, and I think that is the Chinese government's systematic attempts, sometimes successful, to steal American technology. That's not acceptable. Forced technology transfer, the theft of intellectual property, that's what we ought to be focusing on, not the fact that, we have a lot of mutual trade with Mexico and Canada. And
when we see China now moving so aggressively around the world, they're in Africa, they're everywhere,
right,
as well, trying to, our withdrawal from TPP really gave them all kinds of inroads. They're not in TPP, but they have now found new markets.
Yeah, I think TPP needs some modifications, but it's a very, very important opportunity to open up markets for America, and not only that, but to establish norms in developing countries. Take Vietnam, for instance, a pretty large country, actually, growing rapidly, increasingly moving in the direction of capitalism and a market economy. They're not there yet, but they're making progress. Do we want them to emerge as a significant economic force under Chinese leadership and designed to be a major trading partner for China, or with us? I don't think that's a close call.
Our new NBC News Wall Street Journal poll, by 2 to 1, people don't like these tariffs. Do you think it could become an election issue?
I suppose it could. I think it certainly will in areas where people are adversely affected. Obviously, the ag sector has been hit very hard. The rest of the world knows that when you need to retaliate against the United States, you do it in ag first. And that's not only, but certainly ag. And of course, we have a lot of competitive races in ag-heavy districts and states. So it's entirely possible.
Senator Toomey, thanks so much. Don't be a stranger. Come back. We'd love to hear from you.
Thanks for having me.
And